Have you ever felt held by a sunset? It reminds me of faith, that invisible force that promises to uplift our hearts. It requires patience. Nature has always meant safety to me. Growing up in a small New England town amongst the mountains, at night, I could pluck the constellations from the sky. This was my church. But there was the real church I entered each Sunday, running in before the bells chimed and the choir started to sing. This church had rules. At 9, I went to my Monsignor. "I am going to become a priest." He smiled. "Oh no, Melissa, only men can be priests. You can become a nun, but you must take a vow of silence." Silence? No, that wasn't me. I was flooded with rules of what we expect of a good Catholic girl. So you can imagine my surprise when around the same age, I started daydreaming about girls in my school. I learned it was a sin. In shame, I hid. I tried to push down those feelings with extra Hail Marys, and when that didn't help, I turned to alcohol. I was 9, and it worked. Stealing vodka from my house was easy. My parents never suspected. I hid it in a hairspray bottle and shoved it in my backpack. And when I was at school dreaming about a girl, I took a sip and gently tugged at the cross around my neck to soothe the pain. Easter, in our church and in our large Polish Catholic family, was the real event. As soon as the Christmas tree came down, we started preparing for the resurrection. My grandmother, Phyllis, was a devout Catholic. She said the rosary every day. She was the heart of our family. On Easter, she made a feast. Hard-boiled eggs painted sky blue, raisin bread called babka from the finest bakery in town, and the centerpiece was the buttered lamb. Picture butter in the shape of a lamb with a cross made out of toothpicks stuck in its back, and its eyes and mouth were made of cloves, and it was blessed by the priest. Every family had one. Year after year, I would grab a slice of bread, lean in for the butter, and my grandmother would say, "Don't lop off the ear, take it from the middle. Honor the lamb." In my 20s, I started dating men that were unavailable and had girlfriends on the side. If my family found out, I think my heart would just die. I decided I would never have the love of my life and live alone. And then I met Andrea. I had accepted a job in York, Maine, and when I opened the door, there sat my advisory board of 16 people. And when Andrea looked at me, her blue eyes and androgynous soul spoke to me. I literally saw our life flash before my eyes, and I knew in that moment that I would marry her. Marry her, I thought. You can't do that. Your Catholic family will never accept you. It was around this time that I had put down alcohol for the first time in 22 years. Andrea and I had an instant connection. We became fast friends, would fall in love, and become roommates to the rest of the world. I remember the day that same-sex marriage became legal in Massachusetts. I just happened to be visiting my grandmother at the time, and we watched it on television. She sat and cried. How can they do this to marriage? I sank in my chair, hoping that she couldn't see who I really was, and then sad that she couldn't see who I really was. Andrea proposed to me on my 40th birthday. I wanted to say yes so bad, but I hesitated. I saw the flash of my family in front of my face. What would they think? Would they disown me? So I swallowed hard and said, yes. After we got engaged, each time I would visit my grandmother, I would slip my engagement ring off my finger, stick it in my pocket, and act like I was still on the hunt for a man. I was lying to the most important person in my life. Eventually, I did tell my family, and some of them struggled at first, but all of them said, "Don't tell Grandma." One Easter, I was visiting my brother, and we were planning to go to my grandmother's, but most of the family couldn't make it that year. So we started a text chain of about 10 people, wishing each other a beautiful Easter. Another text came in from my dear friend Debbie, who had known of my dilemma for years, and she said, "Girl, how are you doing? Are you okay over there?" And I wrote back, "Our wedding is 8 months away. I still haven't invited my grandmother, nor have I told her I'm gay. Today's the day I'm coming out to my grandmother." And I sent off the text. I got up, I walked across the room, and my phone started buzzing. And then I realized I had texted my family, and the replies came back. "No, you can't tell her. She'll have a heart attack. She's too old to understand." I fell to the floor and started to cry. My brother came over and put his arm around me and said, "Sister, if you want to tell her, tell her. Live your truth." So I arrived at my grandmother's like I was on a crusade to tell my truth. "You know I live with Andrea," I began. And at the moment I said that, when I looked past her, I could see the beady little eyes of that buttered lamb on the table staring at me, judging me. But I continued, "I love her, Graham. I'm in love with her, and we're getting married in November." And I handed her our wedding invitation. I couldn't tell you, I just didn't want to lose you. She took the invitation and rocked back and forth. "Oh, Melissa, I love you with all my heart. You would never lose me. But I cannot come to your wedding. Marriage is between a man and a woman." She didn't hate me. She didn't disown me. In fact, she hugged me, made me a cup of coffee, and we sat down. July 28th, 2013, just 4 months before our wedding, Pope Francis made a declaration to the world about same-sex marriage. He said, "If someone is gay and has goodwill in their hearts and is searching for the Lord, then who am I to judge?" The rules had changed. Within a week, my grandmother called and asked if she could attend our wedding. The following year, Andrea accompanied me to Easter. And after my grandmother hugged and kissed her, she said, "I have something for you." And she handed her a buttered lamb. I don't attend church anymore, but my My faith in unconditional love is stronger than ever. Andrea and I watch sunsets, and together we pluck the constellations from the sky. Thank you.